Friends, welcome to my workplace at Ranaghat, West Bengal, India. This was a routine Phaco surgery. Nuclear sclerosis was in grade 3. We are towards the end of the nucleus management. This is the last nuclear piece and it is emulsified easily. So everything is fine till now, no complication has occurred. Little bit of 2% HPMC is injected into the anterior chamber and then the cortex is removed using a Simcoe cannula. Safe and easy, no problem till this time. Subincisional cortex is removed and going through the side port. And now the intraocular lens selected in this case is sensor 1. This is a thick lens and it is probably safer to implant this lens using visco filling up the capsular bag and the anterior chamber, but I wanted to implant this under irrigation. I have done this before. Probably I pushed it too hard. And what has happened? The leading end of the intraocular lens has torn the posterior capsule at 5 o'clock. And it was almost going into the vitreous cavity. I wanted to dial this lens and find out if I can place it in the capsular bag. I don't want to place this lens in the sulcus. This is a thick lens, hydrophobic material. Haptics are very thick and chances of UGS syndrome is much more with this lens. So I left it there. Next day I took up the case again. I didn't have the multipiece lens in the backup, so I took a day to get the lens, and now my plan is to remove the single piece monofocal intraocular lens and place a multipiece lens in the sulcus. Specifically, the single piece lens is sensor 1 and I am going to remove that and implant a multipiece intraocular lens. I am going to make a sclerocorneal tunnel in this case because I don't want to enlarge the limbal wound and remove the lens. I could cut the lens and remove it, but that will cause too much manipulations in the anterior chamber. So I wanted to make a sclerocorneal tunnel of 6 millimeter. This is 6 millimeter. Remove the lens easily and place a multipiece lens easily in the sulcus. So this is a 6 millimeter wound. mild frown, almost straight incision. This is a crescent blade. The crescent blade is being used for making the tunnel. Only 6 millimeter, inner and outer opening both same, because we are going to remove the intraocular lens, not the cataract. So, we do not need a funnel shaped tunnel, a square tunnel or a rectangular tunnel is okay. Made entry. Now I inject visco, remove the air, enlarge the wound. The lens was placed over the iris, that is in the anterior chamber. It caused pupillary block. Intraocular pressure became very high. So, we took up this case after reducing the intraocular pressure by intravenous mannitol and other anti-glaucoma medications. So, this is the intraocular lens. Now, I take a Macpherson's forceps. Inject some visco between the corneal endothelium and the lens and pull the lens out. Now, I use triamcinolone acetate, Kenacort. This Kenacort applications is looking like a hand. And now I am going to use a vitrectomy cutter, continuous flow cutter of Oatley. I am going to use Pharos for vitrectomy. I am using 6,000 cuts, 200 millimeter of mercury vacuum, and this is a new cutter. So, it is cutting very well. There is some fibrinous deposits, fibrinous network at the pupillary margin. So, I did a very nice vitrectomy. Now, I cannot see the pupillary, cannot see the rhexis margin in this case. Unless I see the rhexis margin clearly, I have to, I will be guessing. So, I thought of using 2 iris hooks in this case before application of the intraocular lens, the multipiece intraocular lens. This is the fibrinous. Now, I am checking the rexis margin. Now to apply iris hooks, I have to make two small stab incisions. So this is this instrument is not working, it is almost blunt. So I took another one, make a small port, and I am going to use the 8:30 o'clock side port for one more iris hooks. Here goes the first iris hook. Now you can see the rexis margin there. This is the another iris hook. Yes. So I can see the rexis margin now very nicely. This is bit of moxie, this is bit of hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose. And now I get the intraocular lens. Hold the lens with a McPherson's forceps. The anterior wall of the sclerocorneal tunnel is lifted up a bit. The leading haptic goes in the sulcus. And use a whisk over the lens. And now I place the trailing haptic in the sulcus. Sensor multipiece lens is probably the number one lens, sensor multipiece or Technics multipiece lens. Our first option, intraocular lens for placement in the sulcus. And nowadays Orolab has come up with multipiece lenses. They also, I have not used them, but probably they will also work very well. And now I remove the iris hooks, it is not required anymore. And now I use Kenacort again and want to see if there is any vitreous strands in the anterior chamber. There is no vitreous strand in the anterior chamber. So adequate vitrectomy has been done. Oh, there is a vitreous strand. So, this is the utility of triamcinolone acetate. Even one vitreous strand stand out, and we can use the cutter again and trim the vitreous strand. I went behind the intraocular lens and removed whatever visco went into the vitreous cavity. This step is very much necessary. Unless we do this, there can be raised intraocular pressure in the postoperative period. So, this is the last vitrectomy, last part of the vitrectomy. The lens is very nicely centered. I inject air in the anterior chamber, and though the sclerocorneal tunnel is nice, I don't want to take any chances in this case. This is the second day surgery. I don't want another day on the operation table. So, I want to close the main wound by suturing it with 10O nylon. This is continuous shoelace suture. I start from the left end, start from the groove, take bite only the posterior leaf, and now both anterior and posterior. This is the second bite, this is third. This is fourth bite. This is fifth. And then the last bite. From anterior leaf it comes to the groove and comes out. And now I pull the threads using a McPherson's forceps and a street suture tying forceps. Pull the thread, and now use the suture tying forceps to tie the knot, and we can see that the knot is getting buried in the sclerocorneal tunnel. This is 2 on knot. The sutures are trimmed. This is subconjunctival injection of gentamicin and dexamethasone. And then this is the final lavage of the anterior chamber with a Simcoe cannula. The antechamber is nicely formed. The conjunctiva is opposed to the limbus by releasable sutures. I usually do not use cautery to oppose the conjunctiva to the limbus. I took special care to follow up this case closely. After 48 hours, there is descemet membrane folds and mild corneal edema. Intraocular pressure is normal. Unaided visual acuity is 6/36. On 7th postoperative day, the cornea is absolutely clear. Intraocular pressure is normal and unaided visual acuity is 6/9. Thank you very much for watching this long video. Hope this video will inspire you to meticulously manage a complication.